Thank you for joining me and welcome to your interview. This interview should help you reflect on how the evidence-based practices you have learned throughout the semester can be incorporated into your lesson plans and ultimately increase student engagement. We're going to begin with a fun non-scored question, and then we're going to move into the second set of questions that focus on three main themes, those being relationships, clarity, and challenge. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No.
Perfect. So for your warm-up question, if your learning style was a perfect day, what would that day look like?
I don't know, maybe a nice little hike, a nice little sunny day.
Nice. So for our first scored question, we're going to focus on relationships. Would you please describe the specific practices included in your lesson that build relationships not only between you and your students, but also among the students themselves?
So for relationships, the evidence-based practice that I wanted to talk about was latency, and I want to just take time and give students some extra time while asking questions so that they could build their confidence and just be able to answer the questions at their own pace. And what I'd hope for this is to get more students to answer and also have them reduce the time between me asking a question and them answering. And that's how I know if it's working, is if more people answer and if there's less time.
Awesome answer. Now for our second question, we're going to shift our focus to clarity. Would you please describe the specific strategies used in your lesson that help students understand what they're learning, what appropriate engagement looks like in your classroom, and how they will demonstrate learning success?
So I wanted to talk about the evidence-based practice of communicating expectations. The way that I do this is probably around the start of the year. I would tell them that one of my whiteboards is mainly for the equations that we will be working on and some practice questions that I'd have for each day. And how that would look like would be at the start of learning a new equation, there's some new equations, I'd have them up there, and so that they wouldn't have to worry about how to start them. And so when I have to help them, it's in the middle of the equation instead of them having not done anything at all. And then the practice questions would come, and it's to help them learn about the content so that they're not as confused about it. And eventually, when we get further into the lessons, I would take away the example equation so that it's just them working on the practice equations so that hopefully they can be more confident when doing it.
Awesome, great answers. And so for our final question, we're going to focus on challenge. And would you please describe the various components in your lesson that ensured students are engaging and learning that is aligned with their abilities? Now at this school, this is especially important because our students are going to come from a variety of backgrounds and will vary greatly in their strengths, learning styles, and specific learning goals.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do was talk about fluency for this one. Again, with the practice problems, what I do is at the end of the class, before the end of the class, that's when they would work on the equations on the board. And so what I do is, depending how I see each group works together, I might give them more time or less time to challenge them more or harder equations and see how that works out for each of them.
Awesome, those are great answers, and I want to thank you for your thoughtful responses. We're now going to move to the next part of the interview where you'll have the opportunity to teach your lesson and showcase your passion for education and mathematics.